out who you are comes with called pruning the life tree. Because when you're young, your tree is very full and it grows in many different aspects. And as you get older, you start saying, I don't want to do this anymore. So you start cutting your tree, right? And you start pruning yourself to be the man or the character you choose to portray in life. Now, what introduced you to hip hop and why did you choose to walk the hip hop path?
Oh man, you about to bring me back.
Yeah, that's the point.
Alright, well, for those who don't know, I was born in 1993. So that was around the time where, I first, got a hold of hip hop. And my first memory of hip hop was seeing Tupac's Keep Your Head Up. I love that song to this day. And seeing two of America's Most Wanted on MTV and California Love. I was a big Tupac fan back then, and I still am now. And what really made me start gravitating more towards it is listening to cats like Nas, Biggie, Big Pun, Jay-Z, and I was just always fascinated by it. You know what I'm saying? Like I was exposed to a lot of MCs that came out from the mid to late 90s and up. Like I was exposed to all that because my brother, he was constantly, playing that around the house. In fact, I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story real fast. I was going to Metropolitan Church for preschool. I was 4 years old at the time. I stole one of my brother's Biggie tapes. It was Life After Death. Okay. I stole it, you know what I'm saying? And my plan was to take it to the church and play it. Now, it wasn't smart, I can admit, because for one, I didn't have a cassette player, and two, ain't no way in hell they was gonna play Biggie in the church. For real, like that really wasn't smart. Yet it showed my dedication to it. You know what I'm saying? Because I just had to have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how I got introduced to hip hop, was through a family member. My brother introduced me to hip hop, and usually when you are introduced to hip hop from somebody else, you blend your taste of what hip hop to what they like until you start forming your own mind.
Right.
And like as an MC, you rhyme, but you gotta find your own voice. So you kind of have the story of many people in hip hop where they begin to find their own ending. When you were introduced, you had a lot of deep poetic thinkers, lyricists, storytellers, and revolutionary in your story. What was it about their skill set that awed you into creating your own skill set?
Well, for one, the way, they was putting it together, like it was just mesmerizing. Like it wasn't just, typical rhymes, like rhymes at the end, things like that. They were, rhyming in between. You know what I'm saying? And hell, and even Big Pun's, tongue twister, y'all know the one. Then in the middle of little did we know that we read to middleman who didn't do diddly. Like I was the only 4-year-old with a speech problem who can get that, and the adults at the time, they couldn't get it. But, yeah, so it was the way they put it together and the things that they were saying that were manifesting in my everyday life. Like for example, Jay-Z, he was talking about hustling a lot, you know what I'm saying? Now granted, I may have been around the realm, but I wasn't exactly in the realm. And later on, it helped me understand, what a lot of my peers was going through. See what I'm saying? So I wanted to make that type of music where not only am I telling my life experience, mistakes and all, yet you could be like, hey, yo, I seen that. Oh, I see the mistake you made, so let me go this way. Like I just basically want people, whoever listens to my music, to learn from me. That's it.
That's dope. Because from everybody that you mentioned, we learned something. Tupac taught revolutionary pride, but he also taught revenge and hatred. Nas taught hood intelligence, and also bipolar mob fantasy.
Yeah.
Biggie taught us to make something from nothing. And he also taught us how to appreciate yourself even if you don't look good. Big Pun taught us not to sleep on people because they may look different, and he taught international ethnic pride. And in hip hop today, those lessons are not as appreciated as before. The thing about hip hop today that I want to ask you about, being that you represent a weird part of hip hop right now, because usually people, like, I'm a teacher. How old are you?
25.
Okay, I've had students your age and younger, and they would come to me and say, the music we listen to is trash. I like your music better. And that's the music that you've been raised off, but that's the music that you personify. How does it feel to be a Martian in today's hip hop and to know that you represent something that most people don't even give ear to?
To be honest with you, I love it.
Explain.
Because, as I said, this is the age of mumble rapping, have sex, get money, and not taking no shots, but fuck them, then I get some money. Like, that's really all too common. Like, me, like, being different has always been a strength for me, even when, you know, I didn't realize it was at the time. So I want people to say, oh, here you go talking that conscious shit, here you go talking that lyrical shit. I'm like, at least you're talking about me.
Right.
And I'm going to hunt you.
That's dope. But let's not get down on mumble rap too much, because mumble rap started, well, James Brown did mumble rap.
I mean,
but James Brown did it with style.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think is missing, because a lot of people today suffer from 90s-ism. Yeah. Like I gotta talk to you and your generation and tell you that a lot of the shit people telling y'all about old school hip hop, they're lying. Okay, 90s hip hop, it was some bad hip hop. In the 90s, it was some trash, and everybody say, "Oh, y'all music is garbage." In the 90s, our music was way better than yours. And listen, I'm gonna tell you something. After Redman dropped, you had a bunch of fake Redmans. After Big L dropped, you had a lot of people trying to emulate Big L. Woo! After NWA dropped, you had a lot of people trying to emulate NWA. And even in the past interview, we talked about when NWA went to New York, they had a beef with a group called Mob Style. And if you know about Mob Style, that was AZ and all of them from Paid in Full's type crew. So, like, emulation always happened, but there was a style to it, because you didn't want to bite anyone's style.
Right.
So standing out makes you not only a trendsetter, but it also puts you back into the essence of what hip hop is. Standing out, having a message, and not being the quote unquote norm. Why do you think people are trying to bend the norm to anything instead of having moral obligation to the norm and standard in and outside of music?
Well, again, it goes back to accountability. Like, a lot of people just want to do what they want, things like that, not knowing it's a responsibility to doing that. You know, just like it's going to be a consequence, or I don't want to say consequence, it's going to be a reward for the right that you do, and it's going to be a penalty for the wrong that you do.
So then what is the reward for being true? Because, I mean, everybody says they want to be true. Everybody says everybody wants to be honest and they want to do it for hip hop and everything. But hip hop is becoming bastardized, and hood politics are destroying it as well as the mainstream. And the reason why I say that is because we just had someone adopted as the new king of hip hop, Nipsey Hussle.
Right.
He was killed due to hood politics. And because of that, hip hop suffered. But the message in his hip hop was bigger than the music, and hip hop has not been bigger than itself. It's imploded upon itself.
Right.
What is the responsibility that you think an MC or an artist should have when they make music?
Well, I would say for one, be mindful of what you're saying, and let the audience, like, let your listeners know that, like, look, I'm not advocating this type of lifestyle. Like, this is just the way I came up, and this is the way I live. Like, you don't necessarily have to, do what I did. I'm just telling you what happens when you do the things that I did.
But how do we make consequence not entertaining so people don't want to entertain the consequence?
Well, from my point of view, you would have to expose the consequence a little bit more, like make it more graphic to the point, it just makes you just uncomfortable to do that, you know what I mean? Because now, this is not taking anything from my generation, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, like I said, I ain't knocking the mumble rappers and things like that. It's just what I personally think that the 90s had over my generation is that uncomfortable, like, feeling, like, just make you react, like yo, what the fuck going on? Like it don't have, like, that no more. In fact, the only, like, I'm glad you mentioned this, because the only trace of that we actually had was, unfortunately, Nipsey Hussle.
You think so?
Yeah, because think about it. Yeah, you had a lot of brothers, preaching this consciousness, here and there. Yet when Nipsey Hussle died, especially, with the things that he was doing. Now, mind you, like, I only listened to a little bit of Nipsey Hussle's music, and, I am familiar with, the things he was trying to do in his community, and that's how I mostly know him, by the things he was trying to do for his community. Yet, with the things that he was doing, you know what I'm saying, people were starting to wake up, yet it was still too comfortable, in my personal opinion. Yet, when he died, when he was killed, that just forced everybody to get uncomfortable, everybody to wake up, you know what I'm saying? It exposed a lot of what I like to call the niggatry in this world. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Now, I'm not really too fully detailed in, his killing, so I'm not going to speak too much of it. Yet, according to, one of the things that was said, he was killed by somebody who was, jealous of him, and, Nipsey supposedly called him a snitch, or whatever the case may be. Yet, even with that in mind, that type of thing shouldn't have been allowed to happen. You see what I'm saying?
That's interesting, because that's my point. The point I'm trying to get to is hip-hop's not policing itself. So then the elders generationally attack the young.
Right.
The young attack the elders, and then the enemies come and sweep in and pick the spoils. Because in society, the elderly and the babies are the ones that's most persecuted and used, and the peers are the ones that fail to pick up the ball. And when it comes to society, race, and people, if the elders aren't protected and they protect the youth, and the youth don't protect the elders, and that glue that cements our generations is torn or fractured, we lose out on our identity, our knowledge of self, our motivation. We lose our wisdom, and we become ignorant. And in a song I once said, through our ignorance, our oppressors seem righteous, because it seems that they have all the answers and we don't.